to the SPD, we dive in deep, you'll see. Skegness talk from every block, debate that's real and free.
Get involved, build problems, solve Hello Podcast believe.
Discuss, don't cuss within us, Skegness.
Political discussion with every show we achieve.
Well, welcome everybody to the next episode of our podcast. My name's Dan.
And my name's Steve.
And we've got quite a lot to discuss today. Three headline topics. We're going to cover the catastrophic town meeting. I think that's worthy of a little bit of a debate. What else are we going to cover, Steve?
Grass cutting. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're gonna explore that, and we're also going to have a little bit of a discussion with respect of the sale of the land for £1. You know, the headline sale for £1, the Travelodge and the coffee franchise that's going to go down there. We've got a lot to discuss. So you were at the meeting. I'm just going to put a little disclaimer out there as well. We were in the middle of Mayfair in Boston today. That's where we're currently housed. You might get a little bit of background interference. It's all good fun. There's plenty of people having a good time, but that's what happens. And let's go straight into the town meeting. You were there. Let's set the scene, Steve.
Yeah, there was about 50 people there, I would guess. 40 to 50 people there. There was 7 councillors there, including the mayor, who was running the meeting with the town clerk. And it was, I think the word to use would probably be feisty. It became feisty.
For the benefit of the uninitiated, what is an annual town meeting?
Well, basically, it is a meeting that is held once a year.
Thanks for that, Sherlock.
Well, you know, I'd just like to start from the beginning. It's used about once a year, and basically it's the opportunity for residents to come to the town council and basically give their thoughts, ask any questions that they have on what's happened over the previous year.
Yeah, what's quite critical is it's not a council meeting. It is a meeting for residents to present and things like that. Normally turnout, it's not great, is it? Let's be fair. Probably.
No, as I say, there was between 40 and 50 people there, which I thought was a good turnout. And although it isn't a formal council meeting, it was a bit disappointing that there were so few councillors that were actually there, because it's an opportunity for them to hear the residents live and their complaints, their comments, their what they have to say, and it also gives you the opportunity to put your perception of what's happened forward to the residents.
Yeah, I think it was quite clear that there was one key agenda that most people were quite frustrated and disgusted with, and that is the condition of the verges. Just to give a little bit of a background, our last episode was around about December time, where the catastrophic decisions that was made by SUDS and particularly the mayor with respect of ceasing the town council cutting the grass verges, and that phrase that's embedded in my mind, that quote from the leader of SUDS, you know, why cut their grass to make them look good, i.e. it's Lincolnshire County Council land, why bother to cut their grass to make them look good? It's clearly a politically motivated situation. They tried to flog it as environmental at one point, which I thought was a bit hilarious. And they also tried to do it purely financial reasons. But the reality is it was tabled to the town council that it would save £8,340 or something.
£8,370, yes.
That's what it would save in the budget by taking away the cutting, because let's be fair, they didn't just cut the grass, did they?
No, and the other thing to remember is the £8,370 was the headline figure. That was prior to any redundancy costs, because we had to make somebody redundant.
I think that was included, actually.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. After the redundancy payment, or the prospective redundancy payment, would be around about £8,000 saved, which in a grand scheme of things for a council it's peanuts.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is for a council the size of Skegness Town Council. I mean, yes, we are in all reality, we are a parish council. However, we must be one of the biggest parish councils, if not the biggest parish council in the county.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And the responsibilities that we have far exceed the normal responsibilities for a parish council.
Yeah, I don't want to re-go over previous debates. I mean, you can look at listen to the previous episode, but in summary, probably best part of 8-9 years ago now, Lincolnshire County Council said, look, we've got significant budgetary constraints. We're going to have to stop non-statutory services. And in other words, it's stuff that we don't have to do legally. And that was the grass cutting to the level that it was back then, which it wasn't great. It was adequate. Much better than what we've got now, for sure. But, so the town said, do you know what? We can't allow our town to go into rack and ruin and to look. It's a seaside destination. This is unacceptable. So they procured the right machinery, they got the right staff in place, and we did it. Yes, it's going to cost some money, but in the grand scheme of things, bloody good value for money, I would say.
Absolutely. I think the other thing to realise is when the county council stopped cutting the verges, other than 3 cuts a year, the residents then were up in arms.
Yeah,
because the place was looking uncared for, unloved and unkempt. And it was basically because the residents demanded that was not good enough for the town.
Yeah.
The town council actually said, well, fair enough, then we will sort this out. And they became contracted to LCC to cut the grass and then added in our own cuts.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think you were a councillor at the time, but we had to do an emergency procurement of a contractor to do it when the news dropped, and the value of that contract was just under the threshold where you had to go to procurement under EU legislation. So it was done. It was shoddy, but the town council started, and then they started to hire the staff, and that's why we had the situation last year where it was actually half decent. We had a long-term absence in the team, but it was still done. And it was still done to a satisfactory standard.
I would say it's more than a satisfactory standard, to be fair. I think the guys do an excellent job.
Yeah, they do litter picking. They make sure the actual area is safe. It's not just a contractor with a gang mower.
A flail mower. That's the that's
even
the term,
worse.
that's the terminology that I've been hearing is what they were going to use. But what I was actually going to say was, 8-10 years ago, whenever this happened, the residents didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there has been no change over those 10 years. The residents still don't want to see it.
Which is why there was such a turnout of people at the annual meeting.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Quite rightly so. So, as we predicted, people are, the town council is receiving lots of complaints for their decision. Obviously, you can see whom voted in favour. You can look at the agenda and the published minutes for the meeting of October 2023.
I think so, yeah.
So please, if you are interested in that kind of stuff, I know we are. We're a little bit sad. Well, I don't know about you, but yeah, have a look at that. You will clearly see the entirety of the SUDS people voted to stop it, and every other political persuasion other than those decided that no, actually we voted against the cessation of that cutting. So you know who to blame. You could get their email address. Now, I did notice that there was a few people on social media stating, well, hang on a minute, I don't care who did it, you just need to sort it out. Well, actually, it's really important who did it, because when it's time to cast your vote again, these are the things that you have to remember. What sort of tone, you spend a lot of time on social media, Steve, what's the sort of tone about, people that aren't normally on social media, what sort of comments have you been seeing?
Oh, basically that people are disgusted with it. It's making the town look uncared for, unloved and unkempt. They want it reinstating. And basically there's a few people who say, well, it doesn't really matter. But the huge majority of people that have contacted me, that I've had interactions with on social media, and that I've had interactions with in person, have all said please get this sorted out. And I think we can actually announce the fact that we have got it sorted out.
Well, a proposal.
Indeed, we have a proposal that will be on the agenda for the 15th of May at the main town council meeting, whereby Carl Macy, our Lincolnshire County councillor,
Conservative
councillor, derby, what you said, and yeah, he has actually renegotiated or negotiated a new contract with the county council, which is going to cover the amount of monies that the town council were spending, £8,370, and a little bit more over and above what we were receiving in the first place.
So what we were receiving first place was about 10 grand plus inflation, so it was around about 11,000. That's what they proposed last year to do the 3 mandated health and safety cuts that they would normally have to do. Now, obviously, they now know that 11 grand probably isn't going to get you that much. Are you in a position to be able to share what the excellent work of Councillor Macy has delivered so far?
Yeah, in actual fact, what they've done is they've offered us, I can remember, I'm not going to give you the square meterage per penny, but it's going to be circa £24,000. So in actual fact, they've more than doubled the worth of the contract to us for those 3 cuts. However, when we look at the whole cost of cutting the verges, which was the £11,000 plus £8,370, it doesn't take a mathematician to work out that we've actually gained money on this. And
I believe, I haven't seen 100% for sure. Obviously, we've not even had the debate in the chamber yet, but I believe the town clerk has run some preliminary figures as to what he thinks it would cost to do the cuts at that sort of standard that we need, like, you know, the 10 plus. And I think that's where that 24 grand came from in the first place. Is that right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't involved in the actual...
No, we need Carl. He's done all the work.
Yeah, but I mean, as you know, Carl and I work very closely together. And my understanding is that the town council, I do apologise, the town clerk said that he would be looking for about £22,000. Well, we've got 24,000.
Oh, right.
So, you know, it's the point that I think that we need to get to now is that the financial aspect of this, if there was any financial aspect,
there isn't
in the original decision.
Yeah.
That financial aspect has now gone away because we're now going to cover the whole cost for cutting the verges for, I don't know, 10 times a year, let's say. And the thing is, Dan, we don't need to cut the verges 10 or 12 times a year. You know, we could cut it 8 or 9 times a year.
Yeah.
Yes, there would be a slightly bigger gap in between, you know, your area as a residence area being cut, but it's still not going to leave us with what we've got at the moment, which is verges that are 2 feet tall in grass.
It was absolutely hilarious. I was coming down Kennedy Avenue and there was a gentleman walking a Dachshund, you know, sausage dog, I think they're also known as.
Yeah.
And I was trying not to laugh, because literally all you saw was this lead.
Yeah, I know. And you know, it's detrimental to the environment in that it makes it look worse. However, it does also attract all kinds of rubbish that gets blown about.
Yep.
And you get dog mess in there, which is an entirely different discussion, I have to say, and one that's very close to my heart as a dog owner. But yeah, I mean, you know, the more I talk about it, I'm starting to feel more frustrated and more and more angered by the fact that this is happening, and there's no reason for it to happen. And on the 15th of May, I hope that those people who voted the verge cutting to be stopped will now take a breath and change their minds. I mean, we did give them a second option, if you remember, with the special motion.
We tried so often. We tried to decline the management recommendations. That failed. That's when the mayor whipped his team to vote to follow through with it. We then tried. We didn't have the numbers at the main council meeting when you actually have to adopt the recommendations. We failed at that stage, and then we put a special motion to try and rescind a decision, which is quite rare, but we managed to look at the legislation to allow that decision. And again, it was failed. So, we haven't got the numbers. It's quite clear. If you're run by people that make decisions that are purely political as opposed to logical and reasonable and just the civic pride of, it's just, anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. So to summarise then, you've secured, the
Carl Macy,
the obviously Conservative Lincolnshire County Councillor, in the background has said, look, because he had the conversation and he made it absolutely clear, at no point did Skegness Town Council approach Lincolnshire County Council and say, look, you're paying us this 11 grand to do your statutory 3 cuts. Can you revisit this? No point did that conversation ever happen.
No, however, I'm not going to go into that any further, because if I did, I might say something that that really shouldn't be said, although it would be true. So there was no renegotiation. The first thing that Lincolnshire County Council knew about this was when the town council basically went to them and said, "We're not cutting your grass anymore," and they went, "What?
Yeah.
What can we do to help you?" But there was no response.
So in summary, then, there's this special motion, not special, just a normal motion that is coming on the 15th of May.
Yep.
If you have an interest in this is your opportunity to represent as a resident your opinions on items on the agenda. Every single formal council meeting, there is public participation where we invite people to ask questions about stuff that's not on the agenda. And there's also another section of public participation where you can actually raise a comment or a question about something that is on the agenda.
Absolutely.
If we have got a packed chamber, how on earth can they, i.e. SUDS, vote against it and leave with their head still on their shoulders? I'm not suggesting or condoning any sort of that nature. That was purely a metaphor. But my point is, if you come to that meeting, a town meeting is all well and good. It's fantastic that people share what all the groups and things are doing. But this is where the decision's going to be made. You're hearing about this first, probably, when this actually publishes. Come along, make your voice heard, because unfortunately the Conservative group are just too fewer in numbers to carry the decision through.
Absolutely, and the difference between the town meeting and the meeting on the 15th of May is that you will be able to influence, or at least make your thoughts known to the whole council, because it is a full council meeting. And as Dan says, if this is important to you and you have got the time, please be there. It's at the Tower Gardens Pavilion, and it'll start about 7 o'clock.
Well, the actual formal public, if you get there for 6:45, that is when that's published to kind of mingle, if that makes sense. So if you get there for 6:45, I'm not saying you have to stay for everything. It'd be nice if you stayed for everything, but you can actually see how business is done or not done.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you can get there for 6:45 on May the 15th, Wednesday, May the 15th, come and have your say when you get the opportunity to do so, which will be prior to the motion being put to council by myself, or Carl Macy as the mover and myself as a seconder, and we will try very, very hard to
make some sense.
To persuade. I'm going to take a different tack, Dan.
All right.
You can try very, very hard to persuade those people who think that this is a good idea on the council to change their mind, and let's get back to making the town look like it should do for the residents of the town.
Yep. Well, I think we've covered this topic again quite sufficiently.
Thrashed it to death, but to be fair,
It's
it
important.
needs it.
Yep. Right, well, the next topic then, as I'm sure you've seen in the press, well, for those that actually follow it these days, I think the circulation of local press is not what it used to. But nevertheless, those that are on social media, the shocking headline story of, well, the land being sold for £1, where the proposed Travel Lodge and Starbucks, I believe.
Starbucks, yep.
And that's going on, is it the Kiddies Corner, Palmer Golf location?
No, it's a bit further. It's a bit further south. It's on the. Yes, in fact, you're right. No, you are right. Yeah, but it's not right on the Kiddies Corner because that is now a golf course. It is. It's further along.
Yeah.
There is a putting on an old putting entertainment property, and then next to that there is basically a big green space with a few sort of roads running through it, tarmac roads running through it, and it's on there.
Yeah.
And it's been empty and available for purchase for years.
Yeah, I mean, it did go up on the open market, and I don't think there was any bidders, and it's been attempted to be rented since. I mean, Kiddies Corner was quite successful
until it wasn't.
Yeah, until it wasn't. But we're talking the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things change. Stuff gets more expensive. Staffing. There was like this golf type, football type activity.
That's even further along, Dan.
Yeah, the reality is, I mean, you're getting to know what my opinion on this decision is just by the tone of what I'm talking about. But it's quite clear that this area of the town has been underutilised and has not received the love and attention that it needs. And I think that's down to just people don't want to rent it, they don't want to lease it, it's expensive, they don't see that there's going to be a return on their investment. Hence why when a large chain such as Travelodge has said, look, hey, we're getting millions of attempted searches for hotel accommodation in Skegness.
Bit of an exaggeration.
You'd be surprised. No. I
know there were several thousands, if not tens of thousands, of searches on their website. The same as for when the Premier Inn.
Well, that's why they made the decision, because they were getting hundreds of thousands of people search for Premier Inn Skegness.
Travel Lodge Skegness.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden
we're getting them.
Yeah, well, one company has made the plunge. I mean, let's be perfectly fair. You're not going to get a double bedroom at a Premier Inn and have change from £100 a night.
No.
It's not competing with B&Bs that are, offering a more affordable option.
And a different option.
Completely different.
Not only affordable, it's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, it's more personal.
Yeah,
at a B&B.
Absolutely. But something else that I just thought about was that it's not the Travel Lodge or Starbucks that are buying the land. It is developers. Developers buy the land
and lease it back to them.
They build the hotel and they lease it to Travel Lodge. So when people say, well, Travel Lodge, you've got this for £1 and they're worth billions of pounds, the parent companies, etc., etc.
I don't even think it is, to be fair.
Well, neither do I, but that's what has been said. You will find that it's a developer that's actually bought the land. They will lease it to both Travel Lodge and Starbucks, which I would believe and I would expect both to be under the same umbrella company.
Yeah, I mean,
Premier Inn
the development is going to cost whichever contractor or whichever developer, millions of pounds.
I think it's 9-point-something million pounds is going to be put into that land to develop that land.
I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a multi-million-pound investment into the area. Now, looking at general economics, we have, what's the FTE? Was it around about 15, 20 full-time equivalent jobs?
Yeah, well,
I I think it might even be more than
the
that.
number being bandied about was it would create 30 jobs. Now
30 FTE jobs.
I don't know. I don't know whether it was full-time equivalent, but it would be 30 jobs. Now, if you look at 30 jobs,
Yeah.
and if you can say they are full-time equivalent,
Yeah.
then you're looking at 30 jobs multiplied by, even at basic rates, £22,000 a year.
Yeah.
So you're looking at well over.
God, am I going to need to get my calculator out?
£600,000 in wages into the local economy.
And as an employer, you also have people I'm sure are familiar, but if you employ a person, you have to contribute to their national insurance. An employer pays like 10% or so into national insurance. Employer rightly pays into the employee's pension. You've got all of this economic activity that's happening through employment, and that doesn't even come into consideration the business rates that these sorts of places are paying into the coffers.
I mean, that's something that needs addressing. So the land was worth
about 200 and something thousand.
About 270 something thousand pounds. That would have been from the district valuation.
Yeah.
The business rates that will go directly into the district council eventually, 50% now and then 50% the year after.
Yeah.
But the business rates will be £100,000 a year plus for a development of that site.
It's mad, isn't it?
And if you think about it, it's cost. If you want to put a cost on it, it's cost the district council £270,000 circa.
Yeah, for the land.
For the land. However, in 2 years, they're going to get the money back in business rates. And in actual fact, it hasn't cost them anything because the land has to be looked after whether it's empty or not.
And it hasn't. You can't. How much business rates has that land generated? The council exactly zero.
So it costs the council just to have it empty. So yes, the headline, "We've given this land away for a quid," is correct.
It's short-sighted, though.
However, it's all the story, it's the backstory, it's the story behind it. It is what this will bring to Skegness. And I am very, very aware, as I was one of the movers and shakers of council-wise when the Premier Inn came to Skegness, because I was on the executive board at ELDC at the time.
Were you really?
I was, yeah.
Was it that long ago?
It was that long ago. And now you've put me off my stroke. What was I going to say? Yes. So, yes, I know that this, it is old age, but not quite dementia yet, so be quiet, young man.
All right.
So it will be a difficulty for hotels in the area of the travel lodge. They are
difficult. I don't see that.
Well, no, but they do.
Yeah, they do. It's a mindset change.
People do. The people that own those hotels will be up in arms, and I fully understand that. However,
but here, let me put a counter argument. I'll wait. Put my hand up.
Yeah, I'll tell you when you can speak. That sounds good. However, these people, I fully understand where they're coming from. However, that doesn't mean that we cannot add to the hotel facilities in the town, which will bring in people who don't come to the town now because they like to stay in travel lodges, but we haven't got one. That was exactly what happened with
You took the words out of my mouth. When I go visiting seaside locations or places that I don't do, I do it, I will specifically choose a chain brand because I know what I'm going to get. I've been to, Blackpool and done, B&Bs, and I've had some ropey ropey offerings. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'll choose that. I'll choose a travel lodge. I prefer Premier Inn over Chandler Lodge. I don't have any shares in it. There's no disclaimers that I need, but I'll choose that. Yeah,
I'm the same.
Yeah, so I'll choose that. Get to know the location a bit, and actually, you've now got a clientele that otherwise wouldn't have visited the location, getting familiar with the location, having a look at the offerings, looking at the adverts that these B&Bs are saying, look, do you know what, come and stay here for a 3-night stay for X amount. It doesn't take long before all of a sudden they are regulars. And this is what we need to do. We can't just rely on the turkey and tinsel, the same kind of clientele year in, year out, because it's dying.
Yeah. I mean, there are pluses to this, there are negatives to this. However, what we have to look at as councillors, in my view, not that we had to make the decision on the town council, it was district council that had to make the decision. You have to make the